Hey guys, it's Nicole Eaton with the Rock Your Soul book and podcast, where we talk about how to hack your mindset, grow your intuition, and live your best life. And you could support this podcast by liking it, sharing it, making sure that you leave me a great review. I appreciate all the love and support. Hey guys, welcome back to the Rock Your Soul podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Eaton, author of the book Rock Your Soul, the Down-to-Earth Guide to Mastering Your Mind and Soul Therapist. Today's episode is a near and dear to my heart because it's something that I used to really struggle with, and that's decision making. This has come up in my sessions the entire week, over and over and over again, and I always find it interesting because when I have a lot of sessions in a week, I always find themes. And this week's theme was, how do I make a decision I'm not going to regret? I think that decision making is harder than it's ever been. And I think part of that is that we are in this era, this time period with chronic technology. And we're waking up to just a million things to respond to and a million decisions to make with our text messages and emails and DMs. And before we even have our morning cup of coffee, we're pretty burnt out from decision making. So no wonder when we get to the bigger decisions, it's harder because we have made so many decisions before noon that we don't even know what way is up. So there is this piece where technology is definitely impacting how we feel. But we're also in a different time period. I mean, it used to take 3 to 6 months to get a letter back from somebody, and now we have this instant response system. So we're feeling pressure to make decisions quicker than we ever have. And I don't know if that's necessarily how our soul was built to work, is this kind of, you need to do it right now. And I'm not saying our intuition doesn't act right now, but sometimes it takes a minute for our intuition to settle into a logical space. And what I mean by that is our intuition feels totally different than logic. And you can tell if you've made a decision from your intuition versus your logic, because intuition, you're going to second guess it a little bit. Intuition is a immediate knowing. It's a yes. It's a I don't really know how this is going to play out, and I don't know where this is going, but it feels really right. And that's how you can tell you're making an intuitive decision, is if it feels right. And you might not have a lot of things to back that up, but intuition will feel right. You'll feel pulled. You'll feel yes. You'll feel excited. And then logic usually steps in afterwards and it says, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about this piece? And what are we going to do about this? And it kind of, I don't want to say it's like the Debbie Downer of the party, but it kind of is, because it wants things to look a certain way. So I want to talk about making decisions from your intuition versus your logic. And I think it's interesting because people like me, people who are intuitive are often really bad decision makers. And here's why. When you have a lot of logical evidence that supports something going better one way, or, traditionally this would be a better path, it is super hard to listen to that little tiny voice inside of you that's saying, I don't know, that doesn't feel right to me. When you have a lot of evidence, when you have a lot on the table, when you have a lot of facts, when you have a lot of people saying this is the right thing, and your intuition is saying, oh, I don't know, it's super hard. And it almost feels like this internal war of, I feel this way and I feel drawn to this option, but I guess I don't know if that really makes sense. I don't know how that's going to play out. So people who are very intuitive are often very indecisive. It's not a bad thing. One thing is that we're swayed by other people's opinions very easily. We take on the energy of other people's opinions. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to separate yourself from other people's decisions a little bit later, but we're swayed by other people's decisions, but we're also caught in this is a logical world we're living in. And intuitive people are a little bit of a fighting an uphill battle and trying to maintain their, non-logical connections to their soul. Intuitive choices really don't make a ton of sense. They're not going to make a ton of sense to a lot of people. And as I was just talking about, like, we're in a different time period. So it's almost like, instead of it being, 1890, right? Where if you made a decision, maybe 5 people would know about it. Now you've got the internet, and that if you make a decision and people have an opinion about it and it's not a popular decision, and maybe other people didn't want you to do it, or other people have strong opinions about it, or people who you love and care about, or people from your high school, or whatever the case might be, if you make a decision now, a million people know about it instantly. It's instantly. It might be all over. It might be somebody posting a picture. It might be decision making is almost peer pressured today because of social media and because of the way things work, is that there's such a response system. You're going to get 20 text messages. And so it's like a pressure of like having to answer to people. And so it does distract from our intuition, because that is a logical choice. If I have to deal with this many people having a say about it, and you can obviously disconnect from technology, but it is harder. And I can't say that that doesn't play a role, because it does. I can't tell you how many people are like, I want to do this with my life, but I'm really worried about what people are going to say. I'm worried about what people from my work are going to think about me. I'm worried about what people from my childhood might think about me, or distant family who really don't know me that well, who have a perception of me in this way, because social media has helped us build our perceptions for other people. It may not be accurate or true to us, but we've created a perception and a social persona that is out there for other people to view. So when we make personal decisions, especially if they're big ones, especially if they're important ones, whether we are conscious of it or not, we're probably factoring in other people's viewpoints, not just in our immediate life and how it's immediately going to affect everybody, but everybody else. So it's important that you're really taking accountability for yourself in with your decisions, that you're listening to your soul, because and you're not making decisions for other people, because this is your life. This is what is going to bring you joy or not bring you joy. This is what your imprint is on the world. And your only job in life is to find your happiness. To find your happiness, because when you're aligned with your soul, when you're happy, when you're feeling in alignment with who you were meant to be, you will positively impact everybody around you. So let's look at how our logic works in comparison, because it's easy to talk about, oh yes, make decisions from your soul. It's a whole nother ball game to actually do it. So let's chat about that. Let's take a moment. I want to take a moment and talk about where logic comes from really quick. Logic comes from a space of previous experience, whether that's yours or somebody else, whether that's societal expectations, or whether that's personal expectations, whether that's something your parents wanted for you, or something you did in the past that didn't work out and you're a little scarred from it. Whatever that is, your logic is basically holding facts that are guiding you to your next decision. Sometimes things that didn't work out in the past are meant to work out now. Sometimes your parents' intuition and your parents' soul wants different things based off of their insecurities, based off of their judgment. So logic is useful for pulling ideas to help shape our intuition. But if we rely solely on our logic, we're missing that soul piece. We're missing that yes. The really beautiful decision comes when some bits of logic can align with your soul. And that can be a harsh moment, but I'll tell you what, if you make a decision purely out of logic, you're going to feel so uncomfortable. You might be able to like push through it, but something is always going to feel off about a logical decision that does not align with your soul, that isn't in 100% like synced in with your soul. So if you've made a decision recently and you're like, I don't know, I thought that would feel better, or man, I just thought that off feeling would go away after a while and I would just, maybe this is time to come back to the drawing board and say, okay, so what is my intuition saying? Your intuition is your internal guidance system. It's your knowing. And I am hard pressed to believe that there are people without it. Because in my opinion, it's a soul thing. So if you have ever felt pulled or gravitated towards, or had a dream that felt, like a premonition or a knowing or an aha moment, you have an intuition. And again, people can bury their intuitions, but they never lose entire access to it, because that is your highest self. That is your soul. Those are the things you love. Those are the things you're pulled towards. And that's really what intuition, it feels like, is a pull. And sometimes it's not even a pull, it's just a subtle shift in your energy when you're responding to something. So, this might look like a gut response. So you have like you know, I feel sick to my stomach when I think about that option. I feel just gross. Something feels super just in my gut. Some people get that curling feeling in their gut when they know something is not the right fit for them, or they know something is not supposed to be happening right now, or they know that even though it looks good on paper, it doesn't feel right, and they will feel that gut feeling. And some people ignore it so long they end up with physical ailments. Some people end up with ulcers. Some people end up with digestive issues. I think there are so many. If you think about, okay, our gut is in it's our solar plexus and our sacral chakras, which are in our upper belly, kind of between our rib cage, and our lower belly, kind of like 3 finger lengths below your belly button if you put your fingers side by side. That's your sacral, that's your solar plexus. These are our places where we really feel our knowing in our gut. Some people do feel it in their heart. So for me, if something's not right for me, my heart will immediately sink. I just feel heavy in my heart. So your body is constantly communicating to you what is best for you, constantly, even if we're not paying attention. And that's what I'm saying. If you're not paying attention, it's going to start adding up. And when that energy starts collecting without releasing, and it's trying to tell you something, you're going to end up feeling sick. So if you've had physical ailments lately, if you've had headaches, if you've had stomach aches, if you've had digestive issues, if you've had just pain in specifically your upper stomach between the lower parts of your rib cage, that is your body saying no. So you can play around. And how does my body say no? And you might already know. You might get tense shoulders. You might feel your jaw clench. You might feel your stomach flip. You might feel kind of light and floaty when something's not right. And you can play with this through one of my favorite tools, which is intuitive discernment practice, is think about something that you absolutely love. Easily, just effortlessly, like to your core, just something you effortlessly love. So maybe that's your kids, or maybe that's your partner, or maybe that's, I love where I live. I love my house. I love, whatever it is that you love. I love, I was writing the other day, I wrote, I love hibachi. I freaking love hibachi. That's true. There's nothing in me that's going to reject that at any given moment. So think about something you love. And I just want you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and think it over and over. I love it. Think about all the things you love about it, and just feel the energy of a yes. Feel the energy of alignment. Love is alignment. Love is a yes. So if you just feel into that love, if you feel into that alignment, you can feel your body. Your body might release certain areas that have been tight all day. Your body might feel more relaxed and calm. You might feel centeredness. You might feel grounded in your body. You might feel very present. You might feel a lot of, whatever it is, just scan your body all the way from your head to your toes and just say, okay, what do I feel? What do I notice? And just jot it down. Put it in your notes section on your phone. This is how I know something feels right to me. This is how I know something's in alignment with me. And now I'm going to ask you to do something really, really cruel. And I'm going to ask you, whatever it is, to say you hate it over and over again. And I want you to really, really zoom in and pay attention to the areas of your body, to the unsettled feelings in your soul. What are your predominant no's? What does that look like? How can you tell your body's saying no? So for me, like I said, my heart gets really heavy. I feel like my throat tightens sometimes. I personally do not get a gut feeling about anything. That is not my yes or no. But I will feel heaviness in my shoulders, or my shoulders will feel tight. And especially if there's a decision that I've made or I'm about to make that I'm going to make the logical choice, I will notice my pain in my shoulders gets so bad it just burns. So pay attention. Again, say it over and over again. And if you're done and you're like, man, Nicole, that feels really gross, I need to switch back, you can go back to saying you love it. But I just want you to get that contrast, because like I said, and you can even do this with your name. You can say, my name is whatever. My name is Nicole. Now, if I say my name is Larry, it doesn't feel right to me. I immediately felt a twinge in my solar plexus, that upper part of my rib cage. So where do you feel off when you're saying something? So you can take your decisions now and you can say, okay, so if I leave this job, um, how do I feel when I say I'm going to leave this job? Fear is different than discernment, because discernment is automatic and fear comes after. Fear is when we give our brain time to process something. Intuition is instant. It has no delay. It has no you if you said I hate whatever you loved, you noticed that immediately you had a response. You didn't even have time to process what I told you to say before you had a response. That's how fast our body works. That's how fast our soul's on top of it. And the more you get to know the difference between the two, the easier it becomes for you to settle into your decisions, because you know your body's supporting you. You know your soul, and that's all it is your soul is supporting you. You know that decision, whether it makes sense or not to anybody else, is in alignment with who you are. So you can get into a position where you're making better choices for yourself based off of your soul, based off of how you feel. You can listen to things that don't feel right, because I'm not kidding you when I say your intuition is guiding you every second of the damn day. It is guiding you every second of the day. It is telling you yes and no to which direction you're going in traffic. You think that I-77 is the fastest way and you suddenly feel like you need to take a different route. It's asking you to take a different route because you're probably going to hit a slowdown. But most of the time we ignore that. We ignore our intuition because it doesn't make logical sense. It's quicker to get on I-77. It's quicker to get on the highway than go the long way around. But our intuition is this preventative system that's trying to help us do things easier. I never feel like the universe wants us to struggle. We struggle when we resist what's best for us. We struggle when we don't listen to our soul. We struggle when we ignore our knowing, and our knowing exists all the time. The problem with our knowing that is different from our logic is our logic sees the future. Our logic sees 5 steps ahead as, okay, if I do this, then this will happen, and then this will happen, and it will go like this. And we can see the path. That's logic. Doesn't always feel the best, but we can see it. And sometimes our certainty overrides how we feel along the way. Isn't that weird? When you think it would be the other way around, it's not. People like to know. People do not like unknown. There is some weird rejection of unknown in our bodies. And I'm not sure if that's like prehistoric or what. You know what I mean? I don't know where that comes from. But I do know that we do have an aversion to unknown. It's scarier to trust that something could make us happy, but we don't know. And it's wild that we can choose knowing that maybe we will figure it out, maybe it will be okay, and maybe we won't be overly joyful, but it's the right thing, and somebody else thinks it's the right thing for us. A lot of times we know what the answer is, but we're so caught up in what other people want for us. And a lot of times I'll tell people, if you're going to make a decision, do not freaking ask anybody. Don't. The more people's voices that you get in your head, the less you're accessing your own. The more crowded it gets, the more overwhelming it gets, the more your soul has a harder time being heard. So if you have a decision to make, a couple things: don't ask people unless it's a therapist, unless you really need advice, because a therapist is going to, or a soul therapist is going to throw it back at you, say, how does it feel to you? And give you a chance to explore that feeling rather than give you the answer. Other people are only giving you their answers based on their own perceptions of their own lives and their own regrets and their own insecurities and all of the things they wish they would have done differently or better, or they want you to do the same as them. So other people are fantastic, and other people who support you and other people who cheer you on, that's its own thing. But for decisions, you really have to make them from a place, because nobody else is living your life. Nobody else has the repercussions. Nobody else wakes up as you and has to deal with your externals every day. That's just you, which means you're the only one responsible for your life, and you're the only one who gets to say. The other thing I like to tell people when they're making a decision is to really back off your logic, because especially Once your logic gets super involved, it's super hard to separate it because you have all the facts, you have all the things lined up. So when you begin to get into a space where you're so in your head about it and you're over and over and you're not sleeping and you're just in a space, I always say take 3 days off. So don't think about it for 3 days. The world will not end unless it's a time sensitive you need in the next 3 days to make a decision. Give yourself one whole day to not think about it, whatever. The more time you give yourself to not think about it, the more you're opening for your intuition to speak to you. So, for example, if if you need to make a decision on a graduate school acceptance, right? I would say don't think about it for 3 days. And maybe you're saying, how the hell do I not think about it? It's important. It's my future. It's whatever. So, what I would say to you is every time you think about it, remind yourself that you're making a decision about it in 3 days, not today, and just redirect it. This is part of like cognitive behavioral therapy. You're in control of your thoughts. You have the ability to redirect them. And sometimes once our thoughts get going, they get on their own momentum and then we're kind of victim to them. And I don't like that very much. So by kind of rerouting to, okay, you know what, Thursday, we'll think about it. That sort of changes the energy of it and it gives you a chance to gain control back over your brain. And just every time it comes up, nope, we think about that Thursday. There's time on Thursday to think about that. Nope, we're not doing that right now. That's not helpful. I'm not going to come to a positive conclusion right now. I'm not going to come to a soul aligned conclusion right now. I'm thinking about that Thursday. In the meantime, you have fun, distract yourself, play, color. I don't care what you do, but do something that's soul focused, that's just about you, that's taking care of you. So your body is literally always telling you what to do, and your intuition is always driving you what to do. And I think the tough part also about listening to intuition is, like I said, the logic leads to a path. Intuition is the next right thing. There's a song in Frozen 2 called The Next Right Thing. And it's about like when you don't know, the best thing to do is follow those little nudges. And I promise you they're there. They don't fail you. And the important thing is that once you start listening to your intuition, you have to continue to listen to it because it will lead you to the next step. But if you start to get back into your head and back into a logical space, you're going to feel like it was a waste of time. So once you start listening to your intuition, I don't want to say there's no going back, but it will not serve you to go back. And the other cool thing about listening to your intuition is that, a lot of times it's like, well, how would I do that? I'm getting this, I'm getting this feeling that I need to quit my job and start this creative hobby I've been working on full time. But I just don't even see how that's possible because I have all these bills and blah, 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 logic. And I'm not telling you to go quit your job, but I am telling you to listen to your intuition because it will guide you how to do that if that's the right thing for your soul, if that's the right thing right now. And you'll know. And you'll be able to feel, okay, well, suddenly I'm meeting this person and I met this person who's going to help me, get my stuff into stores, or I'm going to meet this person, or I met this person who is going to help me with online marketing, or I'm, whatever the case might be, all of these pieces are really, they come together without you trying, without effort, without you thinking too much about it. That is the beauty of intuition, is there is magic behind it. And if you don't believe in magic, you're probably listening to the wrong podcast and hanging out with the wrong girl, because I've found over the years that the universe really doesn't fail. And I think I've told this story before, I'm not sure, but I had a friend who I moved to South Carolina a year and a half ago, and I have a friend who wanted to move here, and she just felt compelled to move here. And that's actually one of the reasons we started, became friends in New York, is because we both felt drawn to this area and we really bonded over that. And so she had applied to job after job after job. And she's like, I know I'm supposed to be there and I don't understand why none of these jobs are working. And so she was like, I feel called to take the risk and I'm just going to take the leap. And her following through and trusting that intuitive process, I mean, the day she quit her job, she got a call from a different job that offered $20,000 more per year or something crazy. Like there is such beautiful universal alignment when we finally step it back into our soul, back into alignment with who we are supposed to be. the universe, like I said, does not want you to struggle. It wants to support you, but you have to be in a place where you're making decisions that also support you and that also are in alignment with your soul and that are also not influenced and contrived by other people. When we start listening to our soul, the universe will sync up and you'll see magic. And I would be hard pressed to find somebody who didn't listen to their intuition and watch different things fall into place. And even if things fall apart in the process, know that's part of the process too. Know that some things do have to unravel a little bit for other things to move in. That is the working of the universe. We cannot hold on to everything. We don't have enough hands. So think about, for you, if I'm making this decision, am I making it from my soul? Am I listening? Am I posing that and then listening to what my body has to say? Am I giving myself some time off from thinking about it? How am I letting my soul guide me? Because that's going to be the gold. Listening to the next right thing, listening to those intuitive knowings, listening to and letting it pull you to where you're supposed to be. And I think in a lot of ways, the universe becomes more fun, the world becomes more fun, and life becomes more fun when there's a little bit of magic in it. Thank you so much for listening to the Rock Your Soul book and podcast. Take a moment to book a one-on-one personalized soul therapy session with me or catch a live event by visiting www.nicoleeaton.com or follow me on Instagram at nicoleeaton.xo. Thank you.